Welcome once again to the Purple Rock Survivor podcast. I'm John, my co-host is Andy, and we're discussing Survivor San Juan del Sur episode 5 this week. And I'm feeling let down for a whole lot of reasons. Andy, what did you think?
Similarly, I was thinking, wow, what are we going to talk about? Can we do an hour on Rice? Maybe we could do an hour on Rice. Survivor tried to. I liked that we got to know these people a bit more, but it's a double-edged sword because there isn't much to know.
So that was kind of my thought too, is I worried because we saw Josh and Reed, and so I was thinking, oh, okay, well, we're seeing Reed, so I guess Reed's going home. And then we started to see other people, and I was like, oh, I guess we're just going to get to learn more about these people. That should be interesting. And then I realized within, the 10 minutes that they showed everybody, I was like, oh, nope, it wasn't interesting.
I mean, it's interesting in the way that we like to get to know all aspects of Survivor. And finally, because we've just been throwing out random, guesses out there. And I think we've been actually fairly wrong, even if my predictions are right. But who's connected to who's not. So it was good to get those battle lines drawn. It just, I don't know if I care.
Yeah, you know what? It would have been interesting to get an episode like this last season where I feel like we had a little more dynamic cast. Yeah. And I would have liked to see a little bit more of certain people. Here, I mean, we lost the reward challenge and the Exile Island segment, so they had, padding. And we got to see all sorts of people we really haven't seen much of this season. But then I saw them and I'm like, oh, that's why we haven't seen them this season.
Yeah, with, I think, one somewhat exception that we'll get into later. Definitely somebody we got to see a bit, and I kind of wish we'd have more opportunities. But let's start with the big happening of the episode. Obviously, we knew it was coming because Survivor told us, but we had a swap. And that's why we had some more time to get to know these people. And I think it was also important because, as I suggested last week, the season's kind of starting now in many ways. I don't know if any of the previous allegiances and all that are going to be very solid going forward. So it was good to kind of see how it did. But I don't really care as much about how it worked out for the people on the island because I'm not sure I care about them yet. But how did it work out for us? Was this a good thing, the way that the swap ended up balancing out?
Not so much for you.
Yeah.
In that you lost your player. We should clarify we both do Fantasy Survivor. You and I are in the same league. You have Kelly and Jacqueline. I actually have their loved ones. I have Dale and John.
So we're the new power couple and the not so power couple.
Once those four ended up on the same tribe, it was like, well, odds are looking pretty good. One of our people is going home, and I thought for sure it was Dale. Turns out, no. It's Kelly.
It would have been so amazing if they teamed up. We would have been woohoo!
Yep. We would have been riding high to the finals.
Yeah. I think what did work out is we got family members together. At least in a theoretical concept, it worked out that way. Maybe not these family members, but if you're going to do a blood versus water season, that's something you need to give us. And they didn't really the first time out. We got Tina and Katie. After the merge, we got Vetus and Aris for 2 episodes. And then, Sierra and Laura a little bit when she wasn't voting her out. That's not enough. We need to see how this dynamic goes in play. Now, that season didn't really matter because it was a returnee season. And more you reflect on it, I'm not sure the blood versus water really meant much more than window dressing that season. And maybe possibly gave us a hardier form of non-returnee player. Just because they've heard the stories of Survivor, and we were able to get a Vetus and a Hayden and a Sierra, actually good contestants. But this season, you don't have that. You don't have the fallback of, let's watch some pros get to work, plus Monica Culpepper. So if you're gonna do it, we need to know. And this is obviously, so we've removed the trapping of returnees, all new players, and we also need to know the different permutations. Family members on each side, family members together. So we got that. I almost kind of think we got too much of it, and it's obviously random, not much they could do. But it's like, there's only one non-pairing together,
Yes. And I'll go ahead and spoil it. I feel like that pairing looks like they're in a strong place right now.
I don't know if we're talking about the same thing. I was
I'm
referring
saying
to
the non-family pairing of Jeremy and Natalie look like they might be in a pretty good place right now.
Yeah, I meant like there's one pairing left in the game that didn't end up together, and that's Wes and Keith.
Ah.
But other than that, all couples all came together. And that would, it would have been nice to still have a little bit of, people mixed on each side. But what are you going to do? So it was good that we got family members together and that we're going to see what happens. We're going to see what Survivor's like when it's truly a paired game, because it was barely a paired game the first time, was what the long-winded explanation I was trying to get to. However, early returns suggest it doesn't work as a paired game.
Yeah. We've actually seen two-person voting blocks before, so it's not dramatically different. It's just that in this particular iteration, the two-person voting blocks are much more solid.
Yeah, and
because
it's more
of relationships.
Like your two-person voting block, for the most part, that's formed, on show, is still two individual operators, pairing together. But you're not playing for that other person unless, I guess, you fall in love and have babies.
Has that ever happened?
Not literally on the show, I guess. The babies came later. Whether babies were created on Survivor Island, that news has not gotten out. But yeah,
and if anyone would know, you would.
Like, you can't. There's only so much you can do, especially this early in the game, that, you're not concerned about your loved one. In the first one, I guess that's actually a strength in that Sierra and her mom were so separated for so long that it was not that hard to make that move against her. I mean, her mom had already been voted out once.
Yes.
So I think Sierra had already mentally moved on from the concept of playing with her mom. And also, Sierra was in such a poor position, she didn't have much chance.
She wasn't swinging that boat. Didn't matter.
But whereas now, it's like, a few weeks in, you're still kind of attached to them. And their interests are parallel to your interests. It's not just that it's a marriage of convenience, and there's no marriage, literal marriage, but soon for one of them.
I was going to say, soon.
Congratulations, John and Jacqueline. So I think for us, let's find out. Let's find out what blood versus water really is. We'll now have that opportunity. It won't be a matter of, all the pairings or most of the pairings are gone by the merge, but I'm not sure. I like these two tribes, but I don't know if I like them more or less than I did the week before. So
yeah, the most fascinating focus of the show tonight turned out to be the rice, which should give you an idea of how good this episode was.
Yeah, and again, as a Survivor, nerd, it's interesting to see those dynamics at play. I think people too often ignore the very human aspects of starvation and eating and the social dynamics that go into that. But as like a real person that isn't a nerd about this stuff, it's not interesting at all.
Yes.
Or it's not telegenic, I suppose. Like, it's good to remind people that they're not on their couches being able to make perfect actions in a perfect scenario. But, after a while, it's like, yeah, I get it, rice.
You know what I found fascinating as a Survivor nerd? It feels to me like the Blue Tribe essentially just decided to make this a haves versus have-not season all on their own.
And the other side didn't know.
Yeah, they didn't know. The other side didn't know that it was haves versus have-nots.
Except for that one time they gave up a reward.
Right.
Because in the haves versus have-nots, they were like, nah, we'll go to tribal council.
We'll not only take our reward, we'll take all of your rewards, too.
And, we'll skip ahead for a second. Maybe they might make another decision just like the haves versus have-nots did next week.
Well, I wonder if Kelly was, because supposedly she's seen every Survivor season. So I wonder if she was at the camp and was like, hey guys, let me tell you about this thing they did in Fiji. It worked out great. And then, obviously no long game in there, but it worked out great for Kelly in that she could have had more rice.
Maybe, yeah, and that's why they had to vote her out. They're like, Fiji, what the hell? What's that?
Yeah.
No, we'll get to it a bit in there. The culprits for the rice. I think this episode even just showed it. It was clearly Missy. It's like, more. That's not enough, more.
Well, I'm not going to put all the blame on Missy because I think Drew and John being on that tribe probably helped as well.
Yeah, John was great. Woohoo, we got lots of food. It's because you ate all the food there. Now you can eat
I wonder how that happened, John. How do they have so much rice left?
But you know what? This actually has led to some interesting discussion, even if it wasn't necessarily telling television. Are they wrong? Is it wrong to not ration your food as disastrously as they did? Or did they find a secret hack?
Well, Tyson kind of hinted at this in the first Blood versus Water, where he was just like, screw it, I'm eating all the food. I don't care. And then, he would just go and grab some coconuts and, sustain himself as best he could later on. Because post-merge, you're going to get a lot more reward opportunities and more chances to eat anyway. Mm-hmm. So I think the move here, I wouldn't give the Blue Tribe any credit for this intentionally.
Yeah.
But at a certain point, why don't you just gorge, win enough challenges so that you've got the numbers, and then, all right, you face your famine a little bit later, and you barely hang on to the merge, you'll still have numbers, and then you eat then. Is that a terrible idea?
I don't know. I mean, next week we'll obviously provide a bigger answer for that, because we don't know what the penalty will be. But some people have suggested, it's like, hey, the rice you eat is rice that you ate, whereas the people that were saving on the Orange Tribe that all of a sudden get swapped over to Blue, that didn't work out very well for them. Right. And also, it's a television show, and they're not going to let you starve. And that's what some people have said. It's like, just eat it. They'll have to do something for you.
Yes. So that's what I'm thinking, is that if you're Probst and the production team, you really have to make this a very harsh penalty.
Yeah, for the longest time I was like, okay, it's just going to take the tarp and the blankets and stuff, because we've actually experienced this before. That seems to be the going rate for another bag of rice. Back, way back in Australia, when Probst showed up to camp because they had nothing, and it was like maybe halfway through a 39-day game. He took the tarps, Colby's flag, that sort of thing. Correction,
by the way, 42-day game.
Ah, yeah, I knew it was longer. I just couldn't remember what the normal standard length was. Yes.
Yes.
So I was like, okay, well, that's what it's going to be. And I'm still not ruling it out. But some people have suggested maybe they're going to have to vote somebody out. Like, that would be punitive. That would answer our question. No, you ration your effing rice.
Yes. Well, to a degree.
Unless you're the person that's not voted out. But.
Yes. So at the same time, again, if you're Jeremy and you think you've got numbers, or if you're Josh and you think you've got numbers, and they say, all right, we'll give you rice, but you got to vote someone out, aren't you going, okay, yeah, I'm in. Let's do that.
Yeah. Although, interestingly, in this scenario, I'm not sure who would be confident that they have numbers at this point. It's a little close there.
That is true. But at the same time, you get the benefit of, A, you get food, and then B, one less person to share it with.
Yeah, and that's actually the other element of this. The Blue Tribe, they were just flat out wasting rice. They were not protecting it at all. And again, we can talk about it a bit more. But they also had 3 more people for 3 more days, right? Yep. The orange ones, they seem to be rationing a lot, and they had less mouths to feed each time. I think the answer, so when people are like, just do it. The show's not going to let you starve. That would be why they have to be punitive about it. Now, I think the show can get away with it in that the worst offenders of non-rationing aren't the ones suffering for it currently. So maybe you cut, basically the orange people a break, Like Josh and Wes and Alec were doing what they were supposed to do. And then they just kind of came over here and it's like, what? So maybe maybe you don't be as punitive as you're going to have to give me one of the members of your team. But if it were just a normal thing, if it was people doing, like has been suggested, is just like, screw it, let's eat until the show tells us not to. Mm-hmm. I think Survivor needs to nip that in the bud. And it's like, we'll give you more food, but one of you is going to go home. And to your point, if it's a big majority, they're like, hey, we were thinking about eating somebody anyway.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm thinking is, if you have a 4-person, 5-person majority, and you're like, who cares? I was going to get rid of someone else anyway, and now I've got, that much more rice to eat. I don't know if that's really punitive enough. I kind of feel like you do the tribal council and you take their shelter.
Yeah. Well, and then here's another problem. So in One World, they established that in order to go to tribal council without losing, it has to be unanimous. And somehow it was. If you're the person on the outs, how do you say, yeah, okay, let's do it? But at the same time, how do you not say it? Because then if you go to tribal council, normally you're going to get voted out.
Right.
It becomes this prisoner's dilemma, or maybe a reverse one, but it's like everybody has to agree to the common good, even though it's not going to be good for one of you. But by not doing so, it's more likely to be you, whereas maybe if you were the person on the outs, but you volunteer more quickly than the second to the person on the outs, that person you can flip up. I don't know. It's. I guess we are finding a lot to talk about with Rice.
Yeah, right? Who would have thought? We can probably move on from the Rice anyway, but I think part of the reason they're going to agree is that I don't think Alec and Wes would ever get the idea that, oh, this might be a risk to me if I agree to go to tribal council. And maybe they're on the block, maybe they're not, but I don't think these players are smart enough to fear going to tribal council. Like, Drew certainly did not think that he was on the bottom and might be a target.
Right, but I guess if they're that confident, like, because this is, by all indications, it's going to happen, like, day one, probably cold open, right? Jeff might make his big dramatic thing, and then we'll come back from the first commercial break. But Jeremy and Natalie can't feel secure enough right now to be like, okay, yeah, let's do it. Like, I don't think they've had enough time to work Alec over to their side or get some kind of commitment, because that's the only sort of commitment you get is prior to tribal council.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't see why Jeremy, Julie, Natalie would say yes if it's like, okay, let's vote somebody out now. But, you know what, let's just jump into it. Would this be a reason why somebody would just up and quit? Like, fine, let it be me?
Ooh, someone falling on the sword?
Yeah, I mean, we've seen that one before with Philip, but in a much different scenario. But maybe, like, for the good of, say, their loved one that's also on the tribe?
Yeah, we'll get to the quitter club later. Quit club.
Anyway, it has a lot of speculation for, he's just going to come by and grab the tarps.
Yeah, probably.
We kind of skipped over when we talked about the swap, so we're not sure if it's good for us, how it happened. But, I think mostly it's probably indifferent. It's not like we had dynamite dynamics before this in tribes. But who was the big winner of the swap? Or winners?
I mean, I guess you would have to say Baylor, who was, if not at the bottom, fairly close to it in her previous tribe.
I think it's John and Jacqueline. I think that pairing went from powerless to the Kingmakers, right? And I don't think it's a temporary position. I don't think it's one of those swing vote we needed now because of the two of them. Because actually, the thing we were saying is not a great thing to be in a pairing. It actually worked out for them. Because on both tribes, they were just there. They might have been the next vote as well.
Right.
And now they're good. I don't see them going anywhere for at least till the merge. They got to decide which way to go last night. You hesitate? You think there's a way that they could get voted out before? How is that even mathematically possible?
Well, only because of the tease that we saw in the preview. You can never underestimate the power of stupidity, and John and Jacqueline have it in spades. So, I'm just saying, it's possible.
I say it's impossible.
Okay.
In part because the tease is, being revealed to John, not to somebody not John. And Dale wouldn't work with the other not Johns. Anyway, so yeah, I think they win. I think it might be a short-term victory because come merge time, they will emerge as one of the bigger threats. Who did it not work out for besides the person who went home?
It seems to me, and this is just an educated guess because obviously we didn't get to see much of the dynamic, but I think Josh and Reed not working out well for them.
Yeah, it seems like it should, right? Like, Reed becomes number 4, whereas in the other one, I don't know, he was one of people.
Yes.
But I'm kind of with you on that. I guess we can't talk about this episode without really just kind of getting into predictions. Maybe
that's what I was going to say.
Maybe not hard predictions, but just speculation.
Yeah, the problem is that we're going to lead into some other stuff here if we keep traveling down this road. So let's save it for later.
So the answer of who did not work out for is Kelly. Yeah, I mean, she wasn't as completely screwed by the swap as some people in the past. I think had she been a better social player, she wouldn't have been in such a bad situation. But she went from a good situation to a bad one, and now she's gone much earlier than I would have suspected.
She was partly penalized by her dad's play, though.
Yes.
I mean, that definitely did handicap her.
Oh, yeah. I think if she doesn't end up with him, she's not in any danger. But if she had done better work prior to this and during, she probably could have worked her way out of any potential danger.
Possibly.
So yeah, let's get to that. So Kelly's voted out. Was this a good idea or a bad idea?
Because you were talking about John and Jacqueline and now being the power couple and the swing vote, which we always mock the swing vote because you have power for all of one vote, if that.
But this is a bit of a different scenario because they basically become 50% of the power. So
right. So it's skewed here because you got a weighted swing vote. It's actually 2 votes. So it's definitely much more powerful than the typical swing vote situation. So I think John and Jacqueline made the right choice. And here's my argument as for why. If they end up teaming up with Dale and Kelly, John and Jacqueline become pawns. Mm-hmm. Baylor and Missy don't have any sort of strategic mindset. They're not going to plan things and use John and Jacqueline as pawns in their game. They also seem a bit obnoxious. So if you're, not that John has this in his head, but if you're John and you're thinking, I'm going to be the new Fabio, here's my move. I'm taking these goats to the end with me. Or, I want to align with one of these 2 as a goat. That's a good move because Kelly will beat you at the end. Dale will probably beat you at the end. And the only issue then is why Kelly over Dale to vote out now. And I think probably because strength in the challenge doesn't really matter anymore at this point.
Yeah, and I think that's what's short-sighted. I bet we still have 3 tribal councils prior to. And, there was all those rewards we talked about with food and all of that. I echo your sentiment that they probably made the right call in alliance partners. It probably fits with their needs more, as disappointing as that would be. I think you could make an argument that for a different player that maybe you should get rid of Missy, who seems to like to pick fights and waste food. But John loves the wasting of the food, so that's all good for her. Yeah, I think you're right. John and Jacqueline would be not in as good shape with Kelly and Dale. Kelly and Dale would be the power there. I think with Baylor and Missy, well, I think Missy probably is actually the better strategic player amongst the 5 when you include Keith. And again, low bar. But this basically was her move, right? So I'm going to give her credit. Yeah, I'm okay with them going against Kelly and Dale, but I think you vote out Dale. Like, you still should want to win a couple challenges. And also, I think you can still work with Kelly after this. Dale, I don't think you can.
If there is a window to say that they screwed up in picking Missy and Baylor instead, it's this. If you do become the pawns of Dale and Kelly, I think they actually pull your game farther along.
Yeah.
Like, I think John and Jacqueline post-merge are screwed because they don't have a leader, and they certainly are not the leaders.
Yeah, you form a bond with Kelly, and then that maybe brings you with finally brings John into, Jeremy and Natalie and all that. Yeah, that's not a bad way of thinking. But yeah, and I was just like, why? Like, wasn't the whole vendetta against Dale? I don't understand here. And that's where I think Kelly's exit interview can help us, because she tells us. And obviously all exit interviews should be taken with all of the grains of sand.
Salt.
Yeah, because they're self-serving. It's one person's interpretation, but I think she shined some evidence that actually suggested failings on her part. And basically, she had previously gone after John, in a I want to vote him out scenario, not in the other. When they were proposing Drew, she was actually countering with John. And she was doing this with Missy as part of it, and Missy told John. And that's obviously a piece of information they can't impart to us because it gives the whole game away.
Right.
Yeah, so that's why. John wanted it to be Kelly because Kelly was trying to vote him out. And Missy and Baylor were probably like, sure, Kelly, we want to win.
Yeah, who cares?
Yeah. And that's why it was Kelly over Dale. And from that respect, I get it. If somebody is trying to vote you out, then voting them out isn't a bad strategy. But again, I think they probably have 5 more challenges they need to do. Now, we don't know how reward challenges are going to function, so maybe that won't matter. But I would have gotten rid of Dale. And not just because I'm incredibly biased.
No, I probably would have too, and I have Dale on my fantasy team. I'm just saying I think that would be the better move. The only reason I can see getting rid of Kelly earlier is because Kelly is the smarter person.
Yeah, I think she's the bigger threat, but
yes.
I think 5 weeks in is too early to be worrying about the bigger threat.
I think so too.
I have a phrase that pretty much just stitch onto a pillow, but do not play the post-merge game in the pre-merge phase, because you might not make it well in the post-merge phase. The objective in the pre-merge phase is to set yourself up well, and in order to do that, you need to get there with numbers. Kelly could have been a number, but they closed that avenue. I don't think Dale can be a number. It seems like Dale just kind of annoyed everybody, and that's not something the show's discussing. So Kelly.
Yeah. I mean, you listened to her exit interview. I don't know how many you listened to, because she did a lot today.
But I only pretty much the same information in both.
Okay. I only listened to Rob's, and she was clever. She was witty. Mm-hmm. She's much more lively and dynamic than I gave her credit for, because we never got to see that on the show.
Yeah.
You mentioned Katie earlier from Blood versus Water, and kind of struck me as Katie only because I never thought on the show Katie was all that interesting or dynamic, but I read, I think it was a Reddit AMA or something with her. Fascinating. Katie is witty and smart and apparently was trying things on Survivor that we never got to see, at least, as much as you can trust the autobiographies of these Survivor types. I think Spencer is the only post-exit interview that I've ever seen where he was legitimately criticizing his own game. Kelly sort of half-heartedly did it, though, today.
Yeah, I think she did admit some failings that explain why she was gone. And it's basically, she did not form the proper social bonds you need to in order to survive swaps. She did not have a good relationship with John, in that she tried to get him voted out instead of Drew, which is kind of baffling. Maybe she was playing a post-merge game in a pre-merge phase.
Yep.
And she didn't even, she formed no attachments to Baylor. And I guess her attachment to Missy wasn't as strong as she thought it was. Nor even with Keith. She wasn't that strongly aligned with Keith. She said she tried, but Keith is not a very smart Survivor player.
No.
But you know what? That's going to happen. And if you are the better Survivor player, that's an asset.
Yes. I mean, you got to kind of take the page out of the Boston Rob rulebook. Oh, God, I can't believe I just said that. And align yourself with people, regardless of whether you like them, whether you get along with them, whatever. Align yourself with people if they are useful to you.
Yeah, and my point generally is everyone is useful to you as long as they are on Survivor.
Right.
But, because you never know this exact scenario. So sure, you could think that John is not part of your core, he's even on the far outside. But if you never go to Tribal Council, you need to keep him in. Sometimes it's unavoidable if somebody just wants to be out and you can't vote out two people at once. But that wasn't the scenario. John wanted to be in. In fact, he thought he was. And yeah, that should have been such an easy fit. It should have been so easy to convince Jacqueline to be her friend, to convince John to go with a more powerful thing. Just, it should have just been the simple argument of, this is what's best for the tribe. They lost to an older woman and a 20-year-old girl. They should have been able to do it, but she didn't have the social bonds necessary. They should have been able to win Keith over to their side, just to help strengthen the argument. Keith by himself doesn't help Kelly and Dale, but once you have three, it's probably much easier to get 4 and 5. But he had no problem. Keith was connected to Missy. And it seemed like Missy and John were much more connected because, again, from Kelly's interview, Missy basically was John's mommy out there and fed him all the time.
It shows. He actually has some strength left.
Yeah, and she'd be like, "Oh, Johnny, do you want some more food?" What Kelly was saying is they actually would leave rice at the bottom of the pot uneaten because they'd had too much to eat.
Good Lord.
That's how bad they messed that situation up.
Yes.
Yeah, I think, to get back to our earlier rice discussion, should you ration or just eat? I think a happy medium between these two tribes is probably the right approach. But Kelly, I think she might have been our best chance at a really likable player this season, but we didn't get anything. And a lot of people will say, well, she wasn't very interesting. I think it's more that she's the 5th person out this season, so there's no value in building her character.
Yeah, you're not going to get a big narrative from her.
Yeah, you might do a big arc if it's a big villain, if it's a big personality, if their ouster is, thrilling in some kind of way. But when it's just like tonight, where, it's a swap, somebody has to go, competing power struggle, and then somebody loses, it's not worth building up that character, even if she's the smartest and funniest person out there. And I'm not sure all of that is true, but from, deleted scenes, from these interviews, from the pre-interview, which, made me appreciate her, I think there was something there, and it's just interesting from a Survivor's perspective. This is probably true every season. There are probably many early boots that would have been much better characters, but that's the way the cookie crumbles.
Yeah. I think we kind of learned that when Andrea came back from the Boston Rob domination season, and you're like, oh, Andrea can kind of play. She's not really that bad. No. You would have never known it because she was on the Boston Rob season.
But she was like Final 4 or something, or Final 5.
I think, it was Final 5, 6. She was up there.
So, like, a lot of big fans always get into this. They should do, first they should do the first boot season, and we laugh in the face of that one. Yes. You know what, one time we should do, and maybe this season we'll have time because this might not be a very interesting season, is do a fantasy draft of first boots, and everybody can see how god-awful that would be. Yeah.
So Francesca's going number 1 overall, and then after that, it's bad.
Yeah. David Sampson would probably be high up there.
Yeah, exactly.
I think I'd actually go Nadia.
Oh, God. Okay, let's not do the draft right now.
Yeah, I know, but early boots, there's probably a lot of promising talent there, like I think Kelly, like a few others. Problem is, we're never going to see them back again because there's no value in the show. The only reason why you do returnees is to draw the interest of the casual fan. The casual fan is never going to remember Kelly Wentworth, and they shouldn't. Nope. But it's too bad.
Yes. I do think there's the slight exception, and we mentioned this last season when we had Bryce playing. Bryce went out very early, but because he's in a very difficult demographic to fill, there's a slim chance he comes back.
Well, he's also a bigger character.
Yes. Kelly also fits into like the just generic hot chick category. And, whether she happens to be smarter, wittier, whatever, we didn't get to see that on the show, so she's not going to be more memorable to the casual average viewer, so it makes her incredibly unlikely to come back.
Yeah, and if you're the casual viewer, she's not the hot chick of this season. She wasn't sexy,
Is there a hot chick of this season?
It's Jacqueline. She fills out a bikini very well. It might not do it for us, but I think it's filling that demographic need for others. Okay. So yeah, we're never gonna see her again on the show unless she gets into a relationship that's interesting for Flood vs. Water 3. But I think there's a good chance she will be a good member of the Survivor community. Like, I could see her coming back on Rob's show. Or hopefully maybe she can tweet at some point in her life, and that would be interesting.
Maybe we'll have her on our podcast at some point.
If you're listening, contact us at some point. I'd love that. But yeah, I think it was just worth talking about because, one, there's not much worth talking about. And two, yeah, it happens. It's unfortunate. And I think too often people just write that off. Like, the season was bad or all that. It's like, well, no, maybe the season would be better if already. It would be better if Kelly wasn't the fifth person voted off because we would have gotten more of her for these whole 5 episodes.
Right.
And I'm starting to worry that this might be a season that the wrong people go far.
Oh, you're just starting to worry this?
Well, for a while I was worried that there were no people. There wasn't wrong or right.
I think I worried from the cast announcement that the wrong people were going to go far.
The wrong people were going to go. All right, so now, as we said, we have had a lot more time with these people as of tonight. I feel like we have a bit more of a sense of who they are and what's going on, and I just thought it might be worth just talking it out.
It's because there's not much else to discuss.
That's right. We've got no time to fill people.
We got to pad some stuff.
We did a lot on Rice, but let's get into the show.
Hey, we'll get you out under an hour tonight, because this is just, there's not enough here.
So yeah, we talked it out of what the moves and the dynamics were over on Orange Tribe, and I'm just never going to use their names. Blue Tribe, and we started to touch on this. What do we think's going on there?
I think it's very fortunate for Jeremy and Natalie that they only have to sway either Alec or Wes to their side, because, I mean, let's be real, that's going to take all the skill and tact of convincing, a frat boy to draw things on a, passed out friend or something like that. It's not going to be incredibly difficult. I mean, we already saw it tonight. Like, Natalie and Jeremy both go and work some magic on Alec. And Jeremy even says, like, he's just like his brother. Just feed his ego. And he's like, yeah, that's right. And I think Jeremy even mentioned something about, like, you're better than your brother. You're so much stronger than he is, or something like that.
Something stronger in that, he was weak. Not like physically stronger, but not like you. Yeah,
that's all Alec needs to hear. Boom, he's on your side. So good job, Jeremy.
I was actually surprised in that sequence that we didn't get anything out of Julie. Like, she basically wasn't in this episode, because in the early episodes, that was what she was doing. She was basically stroking the egos of, John and Drewsbag. I wonder if she can help come in and seal the deal next week, because I think we might be on the same target.
Phrasing.
Maybe not. No. I think dynamics might shift. I think Jeremy and Natalie might be doing all right here.
Yeah, and speaking of them, I mean, we've kind of been speculating all along, like, what's the dynamic there as far as alliances? And we had suggested, I think I talked about it last week, it looked like Jeremy and Natalie were, like, tight.
Yeah.
And I think we saw here, so this was odd, because I feel like from what we saw, they seem to be about equal. It doesn't seem like Jeremy's the leader or Natalie's the leader. It seems like they're on roughly equal footing, but Jeremy's getting the much bigger edit by far. So I feel like he definitely has the much stronger chance to go far in the game.
I think the difference might be that Jeremy had more irons in the fire. He might have been closer connected to, like, Drew and John and Keith as well. I think Natalie, her connections might have run deeper with people like Kelly and Missy and Julie. Although maybe not so Julie, because she went on a rampage against her boyfriend. So that might be why he was elevated more as a leader. And then there's also just gender dynamics. But I do think that they are the power couple of this game, and I don't think that's going to change anytime soon.
You're saying that Jeremy and Natalie are the power couple?
Yes.
Who are not technically a couple.
Exactly.
More
just
of a power duo, if you will.
Jervis and Tyson were the power couple
of
Blood versus Water.
Coconut Bandits. So, I don't get, watching Natalie, what people hate about the twinnies. Because I don't find Natalie all that grating or offensive. She seems fine.
It's sibling stuff, I imagine. I mean, again, neither of us know. We don't watch the show that we're on.
We don't.
I bet they probably get annoying when put together, especially in a competitive environment against others. Yeah, they probably circle the wagons with each other, but constantly bicker in the way that siblings just do.
Okay.
Yeah. So I bet it's that. I bet I can see very easily how it would get annoying, but she's been freed. And just even early returns, and last night, tell us that if you're on a Blood versus Water season, just sit there and pray every time that you don't see your loved one show up at the Heroes Arena or whatever they're doing. It's like, yes, they were voted out. I'm in the clear.
Yep. So, speaking of power couples, I almost said power
I know
bottom.
what you almost said.
Yeah. I'm going to edit that part out. I'll probably forget. Anyway, Josh and Reed. Reed, to me, has been totally invisible. Actually, I don't want to go too much into it, because this is going to lead into something that we'll discuss later. But I think that the fact that they're the lone pair on that tribe is going to hurt them. Do you agree?
I think it will. I don't think it necessarily needed to, right? But It's just reading the tea leaves of this episode, I don't have a good feeling about it. Yeah, and last week we kind of got into it. I think Reed is the +1 here. He likes Survivor. I think that's absolutely true, but I think he's already starting to feel like he's had his fill. Not literally in that case. Zing! But, yeah, he didn't really interest me or impress me very much this episode. And that could hurt him in the pursuit that they don't even know they need to make of Alec.
Yeah, and had we gotten any mention before, since you brought up that singer, that they were saving it for marriage?
Not in show, but I feel like that's knowledge that I had found out somehow. I don't know if it was...
Well, of course you would have.
Like pre-show, I think it was mentioned.
That's your thing. Of course you would know that. But I don't remember hearing that. I remember them being Christians and all that stuff. I don't remember
Yeah.
abstinence thing, though.
Yeah. It's actually, I'm gonna rehash a joke that I already told, because, I don't know, maybe I'm proud of it. When they, first get together and they kiss, I'm like, look at that! They've had more affection for each other than, the gay couple in Modern Family has in the entire run of the show. And then, it says, like, that they're celibate. It's like, oh, I guess maybe it's about the same level.
Yep.
It's like, finally, TV lets gay guys be gay. And it's like, oh, but they have to cast the celibate ones.
Yeah, we actually got several shots of them kissing. Almost to the same degree as John and Jacqueline, although not as obnoxiously.
Although, again, in Kelly's interview, and I think you pointed out that this was the possibility. Basically, the show cut in every kiss that they gave each other to make it seem much worse than it is.
Yeah, and that was my theory, is that, all they had to do to make it look obnoxious is take the 2 or 3 times that they kissed over 3 days and make it look like it was just constantly happening.
But I will say that sequence did help win me over to Baylor just a little bit. I kind of like the snark.
Yeah, I mean, she seems at least somewhat witty, and she seems more mature than her mom, but that is a very low bar. I still get the vibe that she's like the, low rent Sierra.
Yeah, and I also just think that she's probably been the one working for her mom's approval forever, which, big stretch. That might also be called being a daughter, but,
Right.
Yeah, just the cheerleading dynamic. Your mom was probably very demanding and probably maybe had that scenario where, I can't give my kid the extra attention because I have to be fair to all the others. Or I guess the opposite would be that she's a stage mom. But yeah, touched on it a bit. I think Missy had a good night. I mean, I don't like her.
Nope.
But she laid out a plan and executed it. And I think there's a good chance that she might be the strategic force on Orange. There's also a good chance that Orange goes to a few tribal councils before the merge.
Yeah. I just kind of wish that they had ended up on Amazing Race when they applied.
Yeah, then we'd never have to have experienced them in our lives.
Yes, because they're not very good at this particular game.
All right, and then the last person I think things switched about for, and I think there's a small discussion worth having, is Keith. Why did Keith do what he did?
Oh, Keith is adorable. He is terrible at Survivor, but he is so fun to watch. I mean, I don't know how dramatically it changed for Keith. He got to keep his idol, which is good, crucial even. And he's also the perfect guy to drag along because I don't think he even really realizes what game he's playing. It's almost like, if I'm saying that Baylor is the low rent Sierra, he's the very, very, very poor man's Sandra, where it's kind of like, well, as long as we're not voting me out, whatever.
Yeah, and I think that's totally it. Combined with he felt more comfortable with Missy than he did with Kelly. Because you would have thought that Keith and Dale would have been a good fit, right?
Yeah, you would think.
And
I don't think it's entirely... I don't think it's totally out of the realm of possibility still, though.
Yeah, here's hoping, really, because it'd be more interesting that way. But yeah, Keith, he's still a good character, and I think he did what he needed to do. And I think it wasn't bad that he expressed some concern. Now, if it was fully legitimate, then that just speaks to the fact that he doesn't understand, because really, you were in no danger once that look. It's like, oh, it's a bad look. There's 6 of them and 1 of you. It's like, well, yeah, that's actually good. 6 is far too many of them.
Yes, exactly. At some point, you will have to separate the wheat from the chaff.
Yeah. So I think he's actually in a good spot. I'm not ruling out the chance that this could be the season of Keith. It's not a big chance. I don't think it's a double-digit chance. But he could be, and that would also explain San Juan del Sur and how well he did.
Okay, so if he's the winner, then he is probably in the top 4, I'd say, of screen time this season. So I guess he does have the outside chance at the winner's edit. But I think there's 2 clear clubhouse leaders here.
Yeah, and that's all the talk. Everybody thinks Josh is getting the winner's edit. And I think we might be saying, hold up, bro.
Yeah, to me, it's Jeremy. I can see the Josh argument, but I feel like it's 70% Jeremy. If I had to lay odds right now, 70% Jeremy wins, 20% Josh, 10% anybody else.
Field,
and even that's being generous.
The field that doesn't include some people that have 0% club, or 0% chance, which is our next segment.
Yes.
Yeah. People are expending a lot of energy saying that Josh is getting the winners at it. And I'm totally get behind that. He has been getting a lot of narrator time, a lot of look at what a nice thing this is, what a nice guy time he is. People, as we've previously discussed, his social game is strong. But I also think that he's gonna lose next week, possibly completely lose next week. Jeremy gets the strategy talk. He gets a lot of good quotes. He actually gets levels of control and things going his way. He gets the confidence vote, the discussions. So why are people choosing Josh over Jeremy? And I think the answer, not to ever let you answer one of my own questions, is Jeremy's a little more volatile. Josh is a little more restrained. Does that sound familiar at all to you?
Oh, I feel like that might have come up in some other season. I wish I could think far enough back to figure out which one.
It's the same thing, isn't it? I mean, Jeremy isn't as volatile as Tony, but last season it's like, oh, Spencer's getting the winners at it. Spencer's getting the winners at it. It can't be Tony. And to a degree, we almost bought in because for us, it was like, I don't understand why Spencer's getting much time. It has to be that he's the winner because he doesn't deserve it otherwise. But I mean, even then I had the counter. It's like, well, no, he's the underdog.
Yes.
People still feel like you can't get emotional about things in Survivor and still win. We have proof that you can. And Tony's obviously the most extreme example, but there's been other people in the past when people have flown off the handle a little bit. And also I think we probably tend to exaggerate how much Jeremy did because a lot of it was anger spoken on camera.
Right. Yeah, you have to take into account things said to the camera versus things said to the tribe.
I mean, the moment with Keith last week happened, but by all indications, I think everybody was like, oh, good, somebody's trying to explain Survivor to Keith. I've been working on that for days. So right. I don't know if there's a big penalty cost. But from what we saw last week, or last night, I think he's going to win with Alec. I don't think the show gives us that much time of Jeremy and Natalie trying to win over Alec if it just goes nowhere.
It's the same sort of thing that I said, after week 1 when we see Dale grab something that looks like a fake idol. It's like, okay, well, we don't see that unless that's getting used at some point. And now we see in the season preview, or the previews for next week, it's getting used. Whether it's used successfully or not, the whole point is it was set up for a reason.
Yeah, so they're setting something up with Alec. And if I feel like if it was an unsuccessful attempt, then they set it up the week that it's unsuccessful to help put in some level of doubt in our mind. But right. I think they're telling a story that might come to head really early next week.
So here's my reasoning behind the Jeremy frontrunner thing. It kind of ties into the stuff that we're going to get into later, like 0% and quitting, or what I like to call Quit Club. How about that? Anyway, I feel like Reed is so invisible that he has to be the quitter. And I think the only way, well, I shouldn't say he has to be the quitter, but his odds of being the quitter are very high. And I think the only way he quits is if Josh goes home. So, I mean, again, if Reed's going to quit, it's because Josh goes home. And if Josh goes home, the only reasonable candidate left to win, really, is Jeremy.
Yeah, I mean, they're the dark horses in that there's a chance that this season sucks and the winner is very unsatisfying.
Yes.
And that's, I think, maybe a more than 10% chance given the way things are going.
Yeah, we could get a Woo cast finale this season instead of last season.
Yeah. I think another possibility for Reed quitting is to save Josh.
That's entirely possible, too. I liked when you brought that up earlier as someone falling on the sword. And
yeah, who I was talking about was Reed.
Yeah, exactly. So if that happens, Josh's position is suddenly dramatically weakened. And the signs to me indicate Jeremy has the upper hand here.
I agree, so it must be so. Yeah, and
yeah, we are never wrong on predictions, so
I will say what we are good at is going against the conventional wisdom grain that I think has set in a bit amongst internet people, that winners are this and non-winners are that. And I think when you hear Josh talk and you hear the way people talk about him, he feels more like a winner. Even if, you can divorce yourself from the actual tactics and outcomes. But I don't necessarily think winners feel that way. And to tie this whole discussion in, there would have been many seasons past where Kelly Wentworth would feel like a possible winner, where being under the radar, being a quiet, intelligent, calm person would be an asset. And instead now it's like, we got to get that person out. That person is dangerous. Mm-hmm. I think, we thought if somebody tried to play like Tony again, they'd be in trouble. And that's probably still true, because Jeremy's not playing like Tony.
No.
But I do think that maybe there's a bit of a still undervalued thing of just go after it, man. Yeah. Well, everybody else is trying to find the hidden threats. Just be the one out in the open and do it.
Yeah, and then convince everybody else, we got to take out the hidden threats.
Exactly. Oh, you gotta have the Cochrans of the world winning.
Right.
Maybe Brad Pepper was ahead of his time.
Oh boy, in so many ways.
You know what? Let's skip ahead to the quitter guesses, because I think we almost just did it.
Yeah, we kind of did.
So we're just going Reed all the way, aren't we?
There's only 3 possibilities left, and it's Missy, Reed, and John. John's the dark horse. I don't feel like there's a big gap between the second and third position here, and Missy and Reed are 1, 2. John's the dark horse, and I'm kind of leaning towards it being Reed as the quitter with Missy in second place. See, not that we're doing such things anymore, but
I guess we just did. Yeah. I'd flip John and Missy in that order. I think John is still number 2, just because we got the Dying Dad edit again, so it's still out there. But yeah, I think Reed is the front runner, and it's mostly because he's the least developed character, and you can figure out why it would happen. And the show doesn't want to profile quitters.
Right, and that's a big hint for me, is that they don't like quitters, so you're going to get as little airtime as possible. Do you remember Lindsay last season? Probably not, because you hardly ever saw her.
Until it was time to paint her terribly. Even more terribly than her dreads.
But the quitter thing brings up a question that our friend Will brought to us on Twitter. He was noting that, the farther this gets drawn out, the more likely it is that we're going to get someone who would potentially be on the jury being a quitter. And so I wrote back to him and I was like, ooh, that would be interesting, because they've mentioned after Nicaragua that they somehow adjusted the rules. They never explained how, but they adjusted the rules to take into account people quitting at the jury stage. So if you're going to be a juror like Nyanka and Kelly were, and you quit, I think you don't get to be on the jury.
Yeah, I'm not sure it's even been as clarified as about jury or something. I think they just said, we've put plans in place to discourage quitting. Now, however, we've seen a lot of pre-jury quits still, so I think it's not a bad assumption. We have no confirmation on this, but yeah, that quitters don't get on the jury. And I'm not quite sure how that would work. Honestly, at this point, they don't care about even or odd numbers anymore with juries.
No.
I mean, when you have a final 3, then it doesn't matter. Any combination could result in a tie. Right. But they've done even numbers with 2 people. They're just like, I think at this point they want an F and tie. I think they've had a plan for a tie since they've had final 3s. It's like, I just want to do it.
Yeah. Probst said a long time ago, like, they have a plan for that scenario. They've never said what it is, but yeah, at some point I think they're probably trying to steer that direction, like, okay, guys, let's make this tie happen because we want to bust out our novel solution here.
And I want it. I want it too. I want to see it.
Me too.
Especially this season might be the best time for it, because I don't care who wins.
Yeah.
So yeah, but who can't win? We don't care who wins, but we know who can't win. Who has 0% chance. So
back the bus up, because I got quite a load for you here.
All right, because I think so far you've only put Alec in there, so you have some room to catch up. I have Baylor, Alec, and Reed in terms of people that are still in the game.
Okay, well, let's put Alec in again, because
you do that every week.
I want to put him in every week. All right, I'm going to join you with Reed.
Yep.
I'm going to throw in Missy.
All right.
I'm putting in Jacqueline.
Okay.
And Wes is going in there too.
Why Wes?
You remember Wes's big appearance on this episode? No? You didn't see a lot of Wes this episode?
Complained a bit about the rice.
There's a reason Wes was not in this episode. Wes is going nowhere.
See, we keep thinking that John might be Fabio. I'm still not ruling out that Wes is Fabio.
No, Wes is done. We would have seen more of Wes by now. We've gotten maybe 2 scenes of Wes that I can remember.
He cried with his dad. He's been present. I'm not willing to put Wes in 0% club. I'm not willing to list him as a potential winner, but I'm not willing to write him off just yet.
I just don't see there being enough, unless he's with, two of the other people that I mentioned already in a final three. There's just not enough people in the game that Wes could beat.
And I was close to putting Missy, but again, I think actually she had a good night, so it's like weird to put her in after that. I think what holds her back is she had a good night, and the show made her look awful. So
yes.
It doesn't speak well for her winning chances.
No. Which is why I'm not putting Baylor in, by the way, because I feel like it's still, odds are small.
Yeah.
But
I may have jumped the gun on that a bit, but I feel confident that it's not going to burn me.
Yeah.
My big argument is it's near impossible for a 20-year-old girl to win anyway.
Right, exactly.
I got Dale.
Ooh.
Dale cannot climb over. I'm not saying he can't get out of the hole temporarily, but that guy's dug himself into a hole a couple times. And again, going just based on exit interviews and that sort of thing, he is not the beloved old man. He's kind of the more annoying, crotchety old man. So I can't see a way that he could get this far out of the hole he's in without having Kelly, and basically without having any alliances. Like, who's on Team Dale anymore? I don't think it's anybody. So he might hang around a bit. He could still make the merge, although that's tough. But he ain't winning. Well,
I'll get you into some scenarios of how he makes the merge, but yeah. Okay, I can see that one. Anyone else you got thrown in there?
That's all. This feels like a season. It's like, none of these people can win, which means that all of them can win,
Right.
It's like, if for some reason the battle of Josh versus Jeremy ends up in a plague on both of their houses, then we need to find somebody else. And some of the worst seasons have been when just someone emerges up. Our friend Will just keeps calling this the new Gabon. And yeah, at this point in that season, I would have been like, hey, Bowtie Bob's winning. So I have to keep the potential for other people a little higher, but I'm sure they will give us plenty more episodes to say they don't have any potential.
All right, so let's do predictions for next week then.
Yeah, so first off, I guess we have to unpuzzle what's happening with Dale and the not-so-real idol. Chekhov's fake idol.
So I picked Dale to go home last week. Mm-hmm. And
your shield worked once again.
He did not go home. So my prediction for this week is that Dale is going home. Because I'm gonna stick with this thing because it's working out really well for me.
So then, what do you think's going on with his idol?
Okay, so here's the thing: is there's a couple ways he could go with this. All of them center around the fact that John is not a very bright man. So if I'm Dale, there's a couple things that I can do here. I can, and I kind of like this one the best. There's a whole lot of holes in it. But again, this is something you're pitching to John. So keep this in mind. You go up to John, you show him your quote unquote idol. And you say, listen, John, this is an immunity idol. But if I play it on myself, it's only going to save me for one vote. It's not going to do me enough good. What I really need to do is get farther in this game. And I need you as an ally. So I need you to let me get through this vote, and I'm going to give you this immunity idol. It's going to be yours as long as I make it through this vote.
That's brilliant, by the way.
If John is stupid enough to believe that, and this is not out of the realm of possibility, Dale survives one more vote, and at that point, presumably Missy or Baylor goes home. One of those two. Mm-hmm. If he can work that into an alliance, he has a partner that does not have any sort of protection in John, so he can easily turn on John later if he needs to. And John will think that he's safe. And, he can align with Keith and John and Jacqueline and take out Baylor and Missy. Again, long shot.
No,
but
it could work. That would be the best case scenario for us as viewers. That would be phenomenal. It's not going to happen. Too bad.
No, it's not going to happen.
But yeah, that is the exact best way, because what I've been worried about is, yes, he approaches John. By all indications from the scene, he shows John what he has. Literally he's holding something in his hand. And I think that's a good play. John is the person to approach. He's the one most likely to believe. And then
Yes.
Unbeknownst to Dale, like, literally the best, because Keith knows what an immunity idol looks like.
Right.
And that's where I worry that this thing falls apart.
If John tells someone else.
Well, I mean, John could tell Keith, and Keith could be like, okay, that makes sense. This beach should also have an idol. They were concerned about an idol this past tribal, which is why they split votes. And frankly, once you knew they were splitting votes, you had to know that Kelly or Dale were doomed, because you don't bring that up when it's 4-on-4.
Right.
But if Keith sees his idol, the jig is up. Now, maybe he doesn't need to show Keith. He shows John, John tells Keith, and that's the end. Especially because we have shown that Keith doesn't necessarily demand more info or to see things. Very first episode of the season is like, ah, shucks, I got a blank clue. Or a blank piece of paper. He doesn't even know about clues. But yours, John wouldn't bring Keith in on that at all. He wouldn't tell him. Keith would never even get any kind of idol, knowledge. He wouldn't share what the idol looked like.
Right.
Because it's his. This is his side deal. And he could just easily flip things. It's like, hey, hey, Keith, we need to break up that other couple, too.
So that's the other part of the plan. If you're Dale, you sell it to him as like, listen, this move makes you guys even more powerful because nobody's a couple anymore except for you two.
Yeah.
You guys have 2 votes.
Hey.
Look how powerful you are.
Yeah, and it would work with John, I think. And also it's like a fence mending situation. And I think for John it would work. It's like, hey, look, no hard feelings, John. I wish you guys had come with me, but I didn't have a quarrel with you then. I don't have one with you now. Let's go get those 2. We need to keep the tribe strong.
Right.
Yeah, and then, because also that would just be the most fun thing ever.
It would.
John having an idol. That's far better than an effing stick.
Yeah. It's an effing bracelet.
Oh, please. Come on. Give us this, Survivor. Go back and change it if you have to happen.
Dale needs me to be his personal strategy coach, and I could make that happen.
Yeah. Unfortunately, his personal strategy coach just left the island.
Yes.
So, but with all that, you say Dale's going home because you are sticking with your reverse jinx. I, from that tribe, am saying that Missy goes home. And I don't think it's going to be as elaborate as your plan. I think it's simply John will bite on the fake idol. Keith will shrug and say sure. And they vote out Missy because that's who Dale wants to vote out. And, like, for my thought, the play for Dale is to say, John, I look at what I found. I have this fake idol tonight. I'm going to vote for you. So if you don't want to be the one that gets this bounced off of you, you need to vote for somebody that's not me. Because if you just say to John, I have an idol, you need then they could do a split vote thing. Which they've already demonstrated the ability to do. Obviously, somebody else would have to work out that strategy, but it would be Missy, and they tell them that, and they split the votes with Keith. I think it would be the other receiving votes. But if you tell John, it's like, I'm voting for you, now the split isn't enough because you don't have Dale's vote as part of your split.
Right.
And now John is motivated to not try you because there's damage to him. And you just say, like, I'll be voting you this time, but if you vote with me and you vote out Missy, then we're good. I don't want to do it again. But I'm playing this idol and I'm voting out you. So that's my thought, and I think something like that will work, and I think Missy's going to go home.
Okay. So if it's the blue tribe, who goes home?
So I kind of did it again where I said Reed, even though I picked him to quit. I think he might quit next week. I kind of think that's what's going to happen. And thus I'm going to change what I wrote down. I think Josh goes home next week. So
you're saying Reed quits and Josh goes home next week?
Yes, if it's a blue tribe. If it's orange, it's just orange and, what we said. But, yeah, and I'm not sure the order. I don't know if Reed, oh no, it can't be Josh, let it be me. And they're like, okay, cool. We're still going to tribal council later tonight.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, if it's the blue tribe, I think it's Josh or Reed. I just don't know which. I feel like it would be Josh because we've seen so little of Reed that it seems it makes me think he's the quitter.
Here's where, and then why I wrote down Reed. Yeah, I just changed it now because, like, if I'm predicting Reed's quitting, then I shouldn't predict that he also gets voted out. If we're wrong about that, why it would be Reed is that you're giving Alex something. You're not saying, Alec, come to our side and vote out the person that you were closest with on the other side, or your alliance mate, We're saying, come with us and we'll help you get rid of the impediment towards a possible relationship again with Josh and Wes. Mm-hmm. You've moved down to number 4. You can move up or you can stay with us, but you won't see us flip and bring Reed back to our side. Like, he was on the other alliance. So Reed might just be the easier target to convince Alec to vote out than Josh would be.
Oh, you give Alex so much credit.
That's not even credit. Like, Alec might be like, oh, I don't want to vote out Josh. Like, we're kind of friends.
Uh-huh.
And it's like, okay, vote out Reed. Sure, I don't know that guy from Adam. So, something like that. Not that much credit, just he's the softer target.
Phrasing.
And that's how it could be. And plus, maybe it feels early for Josh.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like Josh has to be like the merge episode, right? Yeah,
something like that. So,
yeah.
All right, Reed. You changed my mind. My prediction's
okay.
Reed.
Okay.
One way, by hook or by crook, Reed's going home next week.
Yes.
Unless it's the other tribe.
If the blue tribe, I don't think it's going to be the blue tribe. I think we're going to get orange again, though.
I do too. That color's cursed.
Yeah.
Tell people how they can talk to us.
Well, first of all, find us on Twitter because that is the only interesting social media site there is.
He's saying this because it's mostly him that's responding to you.
Yes, exactly. If you tweet at us, you'll generally get a response from me. Every once in a while it'll be Andy, but at Purple Rock Pod, it's where you'll find us on Twitter. You can email us, purplerockpodcast@gmail.com. You can find our blog, which is really just our podcasts, and we'll occasionally have some other things. purplerockpodcast.wordpress.com. And of course, if you really want to, you can leave us a voicemail, JR Purple Rock on Skype. It'll just go straight to voicemail if you try calling me because I have no interest in talking to any of you people.
I think everyone's going to leave messages now.
I sold it so well. People are just calling as they listen.
And, so there we go. We actually talked a lot about an episode we didn't like, right? This was a C episode, right?
Oh, even then you're being a little generous. You're like a North Carolina professor.
All right, and because I know your American news likes to blow many things out of proportion, and I might be the only Canadian that some of you know, don't worry, I'm actually in no danger right now.
Yeah, we just lump Canada into, we hear Ottawa and we're like, oh, the whole country is Ottawa. Like, we don't know.
It's the capital. I hope Andy's okay. I'm good. Nowhere near where I was, and, tragic situation, but, so... Hopefully next week's better. There's a possibility it might be better because I'm not talking about it, but we're going to try to figure out a way for that to be possible. And otherwise, John will be talking to a whole lot of robot voice. Oh no, now everybody's voting for that.
Oh yeah. Oh, we're getting so many requests right now. Okay, Robot Andy, Robot Andy.
I am Andy and I look forward to discussing next week's episode and also to talking about all those blue nosers out in Nova Scotia. Theme
music.